What is going on, YouTube people? Cards and Comics here. Well, the worst kept rumor in the hobby has finally been officially announced. We have been discussing this since the National and San Diego Comic-Con, when both myself and Justin, aka Spidey Hits, basically had this thing all but confirmed, except from actual Upper Deck or Tops themselves. But everybody else in the world behind the scenes was talking about this as being a done deal, and we have openly been discussing that for months now. That's right, Topps has acquired the rights to produce trading cards for Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and they already had Star Wars. So they are adding those three to their Infinity Gauntlet of Disney-led properties. This goes into effect Q1 2025. We do not have exact dates yet because that's not how any of this stuff works. And we are still not exactly 100% sure how the Upper Deck wind down will happen, but we are starting to get some clues on that as well. And we'll talk about that in today's video a little bit too. From the Marvel side of things with Topps, their first set out of the gate is X-Men 97 Topps Finest. Yikes. That's going to, depending on how that stuff looks, that could be a rough one for my wallet because I adore X-Men 97. Topps Finest is a pretty fun set design-wise, so I could see them having a lot of fun with that. We'll see how things turn out. It'll also probably be a fairly... The cartoon vibe of that show, I think, fits Finest pretty well. I'll be curious to see what pricing looks like. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And kind of what the design and inserts and things like that they do. One thing I don't want to see, and they have been pushing this on their European releases. They did it for Disney 100, and they did it for the recent Marvel Topps Chrome release, which, well, let's talk about that really quick. The Marvel Topps Chrome release in the EU, boxes are like $600 to $700 a pop. I personally don't think they're worth anything close to that. I don't think the product looks fantastic. I haven't opened one, to be fair, but from what I could tell watching boxes and stuff, it seems perfectly fine, but it does not seem like a $500 to $700 product at all. And to be fair, I don't know that it was designed that way. This was a UK only release. There's a bunch of inflation going on from everyone trying to import the thing and adding a bunch of extra costs to the box. So I don't know what that set would look like released over here as a US release. We'll probably find out fairly quickly. But needless to say, I do expect Marvel cards are going to get more expensive, most likely, to open product. For those not familiar with kind of how Topps has been running things on the sports card side, basically it works like this. They will put product up for pre-order. That is almost always the cheapest price you are going to find unless the product tanks. If it is a remotely popular product, one of the best times to buy is directly from that pre-order. They release it to the wild, to their local shops, to Fanatics Live Breakers, the whole 9 yards. They sell it at around what the pre-order price is typically. If the product is hot and the secondary market prices go to the moon, they will offer it to their vendors at an increased rate for the restock, usually slightly under current market value. So expect prices to generally be more expensive with Topps and Fanatics, in my opinion. I think that's the way that'll head. They're also going to build and design these sets around breaking. Like it or not, and I don't, Topps is all in on breaking. So they will design these products for breaking. So hit-based superfractors, numbered cards, basically Marvel Platinum on a bunch of steroids or gamma radiation to keep it themed correctly. The one thing I don't want to see, and this is what I was hinting at earlier, is the facsimile autographs that they do in Disney product and that they did in this most recent Marvel Topps Chrome UK release. they do these like Captain America cards and it has a fake signature that says Captain America on it. They're super cheesy. I don't like them at all. Just don't even, and they're viewed as a massive hit. And they kind of sell like it. So I get, who am I to sit here and say that it's not a good card because the secondary market seems to like it? I personally don't. I just do not think it's a good concept. If you want to do autos, flex your might that Ruben has and get on-card actor autos. That is what people really want. Or get the artists and creators that are harder to get. That, Upper Deck maybe could only get limited supply of or couldn't get it all. Focus in on that stuff. I have a feeling we'll still see sketch cards. I don't know that they will be as abundant as we once saw them in Marvel product. If you are a hardcore sketch card collector, I'll be curious to see how that plays out. The people that are big into Star Wars may have a better idea on that than I do, because I don't do a lot of shiny Star Wars, as I call it. That's just never really been my thing, but I know that they do some sketches in those products. But I do expect Marvel stuff to be a Marvel Platinum, or Topps Marvel stuff to be Marvel Platinum-esque. What you saw out of Platinum from Upper Deck is going to be very similar to what they do on this side as well, at least in my opinion. Now, what they do with Disney and Pixar, I have to imagine it'll be similar. You could also probably look at some of the recent Star Wars releases to get a vibe for what Star Wars Topps Chrome looks like, if you want to get a feel for what this product or their product line is going to look like. So expect increased prices, expect the format to be geared towards breakers, the sets to be geared towards breakers. I do think the one thing that will get better is product availability. And what I mean by that is the ability to walk into any LCS and find Marvel product. That is an issue right now. I don't know of very many local stores to me that I can walk into and buy a hobby box on release of the most current Marvel product. I have problems doing that because a lot of my dealers, they're Upper Deck dealers, not all of them. And the ones that are don't really carry Marvel stuff because it doesn't really sell super crazy for them, or it's never really been pushed. So that is something to keep in mind. I think Marvel product will be readily available at most of your LCSs going forward. So that is a win. They're going to need that because EPAC is going to be going away. Now, existing EPAC will stay the same. Upper Deck sent an email out today. If you're an EPAC user, go check out that email. It kind of runs down how things are going to work. Essentially, nothing's really changing other than, they're not going to have Marvel cards to sell anymore. So check your email. That should be out there for anyone that is an EPAC user. But Topps does not have an EPAC equivalent. So at least right now, I do expect them to have one at some point in time, but it doesn't exist at this moment. So if you're a big EPAC buyer, you like that chase of the achievements, going after stuff on there, building those sets, trading, etc. on EPAC, if that's how you mostly interact with Marvel cards, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. You are going to either have to drastically change how you operate in Marvel cards, or maybe take a little break and let things kind of play itself out. And don't forget, it's okay to not be caught up in the current zeitgeist. If you don't like what's going on or the product that's presented or the way that they're presenting it, no one is forcing you to buy that. Just always keep that in mind. So if you don't like something, just pass on it. It might suck a little bit because the way that you were used to doing things is now gone, but just sit on the sidelines for a little bit and kind of see how things play out if you're unsure, and then reevaluate and go from there. So the EPAC component going away, I think, is going to be a big deal. Now, Upper Deck, Marvel's out the door. DC is coming in, so they will still have comic book cards to offer, and DC Masterpieces will go to EPAC, DC Metal sets will go to EPAC, and all that stuff. I do expect, I saw Fleer Ultra Wolverine is coming to EPAC tomorrow. They are going to be, from now till the end of the year, you are going to be seeing a ton of product hit EPAC. You're going to see a ton of product hit EPAC quickly, because I believe they have to sell through it all before their license ends. Because once the license is over, I don't believe that they can anymore. What I've implied or what I've inferred from talking to people is when this has happened in the past, they basically, towards the end, start fire selling this stuff. You may have already noticed there's been a lot of Marvel sales on ePack the last couple of months. There's been rotating ones through. There was another one announced, I think, yesterday. As that window gets shorter and they need to get product out the door, that stuff will continue to get cheaper. So the sets that aren't super popular, you're probably going to see drastic discounts on those because they want to get them gone. The big question is still, what the hell is going on with Marvel Masterpieces 2023? And where is that product at? That is the biggest one that everyone is waiting for to hit ePack, and it hasn't yet. And I don't know if they're saving that for their last hurrah or what, because they know it's going to sell really well and it's going to be expensive. But you're kind of playing with chicken a little. You're playing a little bit of game of chicken there, depending on when everything turns into goes Cinderella and turns back into a pumpkin, on when the contractual deadlines are. And that stuff we're not really going to know, especially this far out. And Upper Deck still has a couple more releases to go to kind of close out the year. I believe there's an Allegiance set still coming, and I'm not sure what else off the top of my head. So we are now in the Fanatics Topps era, or we're going to be very, very quickly. What impacts does this have on the secondary market? That's kind of one of the other big questions floating around all this. And I don't have a crystal ball. I'm guessing here at best. I could see the one thing Topps is going to do and Fanatics is going to do, they will market the hell out of Marvel cards, which has never really been a thing in the past. Upper Deck tried, but never to the level of what Topps and Fanatics will do. So you could see an influx of people either entering Marvel cards or getting back into Marvel cards or trying it out for the first time because of the marketing that Fanatics and Topps puts behind it. So you could see an influx of people coming in, chasing the more modern stuff, and then do they eventually, if they catch the bug, do they filter backwards into the old Upper Deck sets? Don't know. Do people become nostalgic for the old Upper Deck stuff? For example, Platinum, Marvel Masterpieces, the metal sets. Those are iconic sets that unfortunately we will no longer see again. Upper Deck owns the rights to Marvel Masterpieces. Upper Deck owns the rights to Marvel Metal and Fleer Ultra and all those cool Skybox inserts and Platinum Portraits and PMGs and all that will now cease to exist from a new release standpoint. My angle on this is I don't think it would be a bad idea to potentially stash a little bit of whatever your favorite set is away in regards to sealed product. Whether that's because you think it's going to go up in price, or 3 or 4 years from now, you have nostalgia for a metal set and you want to go back and rip one. It's probably going to be easier to get those boxes now than it will be in 3, 5, 7, 10 years, potentially, even a couple of years. I know I picked up a couple boxes of Marvel Platinum recently that I stashed away. I would like to get a couple more boxes of Marvel Masterpieces before the end of the year. Not like they're going to disappear at the end of the year, but kind of before people catch on to, oh, the inventory might be drying up on some of these more iconic Marvel sets from the Upper Deck era. Because as we all know, rose-colored glasses are fantastic, and people are going to look backwards in a few years and be like, man, remember the days, and they're going to get an itch to rip that product. We see that now with like Rittenhouse stuff on occasion, or even the older Upper Deck sets. So I think that is some potential there for the older, or not, I don't want to say older, the higher profile, more popular Marvel Upper Deck sets that people like. So I don't think it's a bad idea stashing those. I'm chasing singles, I think, is always a little bit dicey. You're going to go with the whims of the market and kind of what characters people are invested in. But sealed wax, it's the one thing that there's always dwindling supply of. So you always have that on your side to a degree. I am mildly excited for Topps taking this over. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. them coming out of the gates with X-Men 97 is going to be a real kick in the feels. And I am probably going to get FOMO and probably chase the hell out of that, or at least certain singles. I don't know how much of it I will rip. It'll depend on price point, but I'm sure there'll be some insert sets or subsets or whatever that I am going to want to chase from that product, just because one, I love the X-Men, and two, I adore X-Men 97, and I do kind of like Topps Finest as a set in general. So that is kind of where we currently sit. That's my best guesses on kind of how this plays out in the near term and a little bit longer term. Obviously, still a lot that we don't know. There's still a lot of unknown details out there, mostly concerning around the Upper Deck wind down and when exactly we see product from Topps/Fanatics. Very curious for your thoughts and comments, as always, down below. We will catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.